I was initially contemplating whether or not I should release this video at all, since the topic can be touchy, but it does kind of tie in with the next video I have in the works, and it is something that I at least think should be discussed. Hello and welcome, you beautiful people. There was this one episode in Oshi with a really dark theme, more specifically episode 6, Ego Surfing, that touched on the topics of cyberbullying and suicide. It was an episode that caused a lot of discussion and controversy, partly because the story of Akane's pain was heavily inspired by what happened to Hana Kimura, and so blatantly using a real tragedy as inspiration was, in my opinion, in poor taste at the very least. But it wasn't all bad, as this did also spark conversation about the topic that sadly gets ignored far too much these days on social media, especially given how common it has become in recent years. Essentially, what happens is that in episode 6, Akane slaps one of her fellow team members whilst filming a reality TV show. It's a heat of the moment thing that is forgiven and forgotten as soon as it happens, except it's on TV, which then naturally means that people, like they often do, get offended on someone else's behalf, and it all spirals down to worse and worse bullying and directed threats at both Akane and her family, all the way to people saying that Akane should just end it all, which she then eventually tries to do. Even if these things aren't directly said to her, people in the show don't seem to understand, or worse yet, maybe they do understand and do it anyway, that the person it's all directed to will end up seeing it anyway in one way or another. And that kind of bullying and harassment is what I wanted to discuss today, not only in Oshinoko, but also as we see it in real life. Now, yes, I know a lot of people might disagree with me on this, but I think it's not just important, but necessary to talk about these things, and it is good that it was included in a popular anime, since sadly, with the aid of the internet, far too many people seem to forget the consequences of their actions, or that the people they're bullying are, well, people, and it can genuinely hurt them. Hell, we've had people bullied to a brink of suicide for liking or disliking an anime character, and social justice warriors flocking to protect a drawing at the cost of potentially causing the death of an actual person. And sadly, as marvelous as the internet can be, it can also facilitate such despicable behavior on a whole other scale, like we've seen in Oshinoko and like we've seen in real life, with organized massed bullying campaigns utilizing social media to harass people day and night. And more often than not, there is genuinely good reason as the idea behind the bullying that is being marred by the actions of those that claim to stand for it, and somehow these people still think that ends justify the means, which just isn't true, and more often than not they end up doing more harm to everyone including their own agenda, while still thinking they're in the right. It really is one of the highest forms of delusional behavior that is sadly all too common on social media these days. Although, at worst, there's not even justifiable reason, and a disagreement over fiction is more than enough for some people to engage in cyberbullying, as too damn many people nowadays think that their subjective opinion is the one and only correct one, and somehow this justifies bullying those who don't share the same opinion. Not that the reason really matters. Bullying is always wrong, and those who engage in it are the scum of society, and it boggles the mind just how little reason some people need to sink to this level. And sadly, bullying can have long-lasting or even permanent consequences. And from that we get to the really dark stuff, which yes, can be the worst possible outcome of bullying. And that is suicide, which Oshinoko came really close to showing us, but one which Akane luckily did not manage thanks to outside intervention from people that care about her. Now, some of you might already know this since I've mentioned it previously in a video, very briefly. Suicide is something I've had very personal experience with, and that is the primary reason why I wanted to talk about it and why I think it should be discussed in general. Luckily, my attempt was not caused by bullying, but rather an injury from which I'm still recovering from. This was a good 7 years ago now, and while life is still not daijoubu, thanks to help from both professionals and people I care about, I am now in a very fortunate position where I can say that I am glad that the attempt failed. And while I am just an idiot on the internet making videos about funny Japanese cartoons, it really did open my eyes, and as such I'd like to raise awareness if nothing else. So if you or someone close to you is suffering from mental problems and may be leaning towards suicide, please seek help. I know it can feel difficult, even impossible to talk about it to someone, but I know it is impossible to deal with it yourself. And as long as you're alive, there is always hope for a better tomorrow. It might not feel like it if you are the one suffering, but it is true. So help one another, talk, Be there for those you care for, and if necessary, seek professional help. They at least know how to help. And if you feel abandoned or alone, no matter how distant, I at least care that you stay safe. And since this isn't really a like and subscribe kind of video, I'll skip the usual outro and just say that I really do hope to see you next time. Keep yourselves and those you care about safe. Thank you for watching. I've been Cheese. Ta-ta for now.